Hello, beautiful people of the planet. At Expat Explore, we believe that travel should be possible for everybody. Travel enriches people's lives. And that's why we offer unmatched value for money when it comes to touring. I've recently caught up with tour leader Luke Watson to discuss the fact that the season has started. It is summertime in Europe, a very exciting time for us, a very busy time for us. And Luke gives us some travel tips and advice. For those of you joining us in Europe this summer, I know you're going to have a fantastic time. Get up, and let's go. Yes, okay, well, Luke, no middle name Watson. I'm guessing
I've actually got two middle names.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Tom,
Luke,
is it something
Luke.
we share?
Is it? Yeah, we can share it. It's quite a strong name. I like my middle names, and it is. I've got two.
Okay.
And they are Luke George Maximilian Watson.
Wow, that is very strong. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, but Luke, I honestly just had a big guess because it's always just Luke Watson, and I think you could have done a lot with Maximilian.
I know. My dad wanted to call me Max. My mum said no. So he was like, I'm putting it in there somewhere. And so I found its way.
Okay. Luke, you're here today to talk to us a little bit because the season has officially kicked off in a very big way, I think. For those people who don't know, in travel, we often talk about the season that has started, you know, and I wanted to ask you, what exactly does that mean for you?
So in the tour industry, the season typically means from early April to the end of October. So this is the big travel season. This is when people want to get out and explore the world. This is when, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, we have springtime coming into summer and then autumn. So for tour leaders, it's that moment when, right, you kind of gear yourselves up. It's all about to begin. And that's it. Tours are back. You know, you've had a few months off, unwinding, doing whatever it is you do. So April to October, this is when we say the season, the big all-encompassing season.
So it's almost as if you guys come out of hibernation and now you're hungry and you need to get out there and kind of, get going. Is that why it's really
I like to use the word hungry because we are. Yeah, you're hungry. Yeah. You want that nourishment from tours. You know, you always look forward to a season ending, but then you also can't wait for a season to begin.
Okay, I've noticed that. I mean, so many tour leaders at the end of the season, you can kind of see, you know, they're a little bit tired, they need their rest, but then come early the next year, they kind of get edgy a little bit to get out there and get going. And I suppose it's the same for you. But you've literally just finished, was it your first tour of the season or not really?
Third tour of the season.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, we hit the ground running this year.
Of you, I don't know, convincing somebody to get into the cold waters of, I'm guessing, probably Ireland.
It was, yeah. So we were on the wild Atlantic. So usually I will swim on my own. I might convince one mad soul on the tour to join me. But on this tour I had two people, which is the first ever time two people have joined. And yeah, it's a little tradition that whenever in Waterville on the Ring of Kerry optional day, I'll always go for a swim in Waterville. I always open it up to passengers. Rarely do they join because the water is about 9 degrees Celsius. But this time we had two, and it's phenomenal.
Well done. So what are you looking for? I mean, you've touched now on Ireland. I know that's a destination that you love. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later on. But what is it about the season that you're really looking forward to?
So myself, but tour leaders generally, we're tour leaders. It's who we are. It's a part of our personality. It's what we do. For some of us, it's our calling in life. So during the off season, it's we recover, we recuperate, we study, we research, we do the things that we enjoy outside of that. But being a tour leader is what we do, right? So it's getting back to being yourself. So it's your profession. For me, it's a big passion. So it's like there's always that you're kind of coming home. Yeah, I mean, you get on that coach, you've got a group of 40, 50 people there, you've got a microphone in your hand, and there's just this kind of comfortability of like, I'm back where I'm meant to be.
Oh, wow.
And especially at the beginning of that season, you've got all that energy, that enthusiasm ready to go. You've got all these people there in front of you looking at you expectantly. And it's just the most beautiful feeling for me personally. And especially when you're in a destination that you know well, you're confident in. And there's nothing like that fresh beginning of the season enthusiasm for the passengers as well. But from a tour leading perspective, and yeah, that's probably the moment that I look forward to most.
Okay. This is why you're smiling so broadly. I can tell that you are very excited.
I know, I'm just coming off that buzz from those first few tours, and it's brilliant.
Awesome. And you also mentioned just before we started recording that you in our London office at the moment for the first time this year, and obviously connecting with the office staff on that side.
Yeah, 100%. So first time in the office this season. So I'm calling it my big tour grounding experience. So it's just nice to, catch up with everyone in the different departments, see what they're up to, share some of my experiences from the first few tours, see where they're at. And it's just like this kind of almost a ceremonial initiation into the season is to have those first interactions in the office. And
I suppose it's so important to stay connected to the office, because I'm assuming that being out on the road can, I wouldn't say get lonely, because it's definitely not loneliness, but can get a little bit disconnected from time to time. So it is important probably to just reconnect with the guys in the office and as you say, share your experiences, learn a little bit. So I suppose that's where you are today.
Correct, yeah. So lots of sharing, lots of connecting, and you do sometimes forget that when you're on the road, you're so wrapped up in the tour experience that you and the driver almost feel like this kind of island in the sea of passengers and guests. But there is this whole team behind you, right? And so to just come and connect and reconnect to that is a nice reminder of everything that goes into the tour planning.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's just a lovely atmosphere here, like
Awesome.
Company culture, the vibe in the office. Not always the most productive from my perspective because I end up chatting with everyone far too much. And,
for this.
Yeah, but it's great. That's also a necessary part of the experience, right?
Absolutely, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Maybe not the most productive, but it's so important to get that connection going. Have that little joke. Sometimes just remind ourselves that we actually enjoy working together, and it's not just work. That's what I love about working for Expat. Anyways, we're talking about the season, and you've mentioned, we touched on the fact that at the end of the season, you really kind of need a break and to reset and whatever. I can clearly see that you've had a good reset because you look refreshed. You look a little bit younger than the last time I saw you.
Yeah.
What did you do in your time off?
So the first thing I did at the end of the season actually was I went on a tour as a passenger. So I did the thing that I've just finished doing. But we a couple of other tour leaders, Matt and Brandon, and a friend Kasha, who's now also a tour leader, we went on the South Africa tour. Because I try and do at least 2 tours a year as a passenger just to keep my hand in. And I actually thought, is it a good idea at the end of the season to go straight into being a passenger on the tour? But it was wonderful. It was actually a very nourishing, relaxing experience. But typically, and the thing that I look forward to most and what I did the most of during my off-season is surfing. For me, something that's active, that I'm passionate about, but also I can do it almost in a solitary way. So I talk a lot to friends and people about bandwidth, right? You've got a limited social bandwidth. You use up a lot of that bandwidth on tour for people. Yeah, and so then to do something alone or with a small group of people. So for me, surfing, even when I'm surfing with people, there comes a moment where you're just on your own in the waves, doing your own thing. I find that very nourishing and regenerative. Plus, it's great fun. I love it. It's my, outside of touring, it's probably my second biggest passion in life is surfing. So lots and lots of wave action off season.
Wonderful. And where did you go to surf? I mean, I'm assuming that the UK is not the best place to learn. Is that
everyone says that? Everyone says that. No, the UK is, it's not the best in the world, but in the southwest of England, we have Cornwall, and the surf community down there is fantastic. We get some amazing swell coming off the Atlantic on the north coast of Cornwall. Sometimes the south coast, depending on wind directions. But the UK is great. But for me, I did my first ever surfing in South Africa when I was there, out near Durban. A little bit of Muizenberg. Didn't get down to J-Bay, unfortunately, but one day. Morocco for me is the big surfing destination.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You went to Morocco. I remember this now because we, as I'm hoping people are aware, we are doing our first ever Morocco, what we call Discovery Tour. And what that means is we are taking some of our, I want to call them experienced passengers, our loyal passengers, to test out Morocco for us. And you then volunteered and said, I have to go. Let me be the tour host. And I'm curious because you're passionate about Morocco.
Yeah, I love it. So I've been going out there for about 5 years now. It started as just once a year, and then this time I was out there 3 times during the winter. And yeah, as soon as I was actually out there surfing, and then I saw all of the information and the confirmation of the dates from Expat. And the first thing I did, I messaged is either Tim VLA. I said, guys, how can I be involved? Please, if there's any way I can be out there with the tour. So they got me on board as a host, and I think it's a country that it always surprises people how amazing the experience is there. We live in a time in the world where there's this kind of atmosphere of East versus West, right? And a lot of Islamic countries, people are a bit tentative about going and exploring them, sometimes because of media representation, things like that. But for myself, I have never felt more welcomed or safe in a country than when I spent time in Morocco. And when I tell people about this, they're often quite surprised. And I've taken friends, Matt, one of our other tour leaders, I took him there for 2 weeks last year. And he was blown away by it. And it's just one of whether it's the food, the music, the architecture, the natural beauty, the full shebang Morocco has going on. And yeah, it's just wonderful. So I'm very excited to be part of.
No, I mean, I've not. Yeah, I mean, I've not been to Morocco, unfortunately, but I saw some of the videos that you posted, and as you you're showcasing the markets and stuff. It's almost like I can smell the spices. I can taste that amazing food. And I must be honest, I'm a little bit jealous that I won't be joining you guys. But
you should be.
But look, what are you expecting from this Discovery Tour, and subsequently, how popular do you, if you had a crystal ball, would you predict it would be as a destination for our passengers?
I'm just gonna. I think Morocco is going to be huge. Yeah, there might be some of that around the campfire in Morocco, actually. No, I think it's going to be huge. I think that there might have been some hesitation at first when people see Morocco as a destination given world events. But once people see that first tour go out there and they see the footage come from that, I think it's going to explode as a destination. Already, tourism in Morocco, whilst I've been there, the amount of development that the king and the government has thrown into developing the touristic areas to make them safer, more accessible, has been amazing. Every year I go, it's busier and busier with a whole range of tourists. I think traditionally it was your kind of hardcore backpackers that like a bit of off the beaten track adventure, which still exists. But now you've got your kind of more commercialized tours out there, and the full spectrum of tourism is really happening in Morocco. And I think that as we start to go out there aren't that many of the kind of bigger tour operators. It's kind of smaller groups going out on kind of backpacking trips. That's really going to take off. And it's really exciting to see us there early on in that. It feels early on in that, which is great. So yeah, I reckon it's going to be massive.
I think so too, and I just I know you love making your social reels and stuff. So we're really looking forward to see what you come up with. Of course, Jakes is joining you. Jake's one of our 2 co-owners. So how does that feel? Does it feel like Big Boss is looking over your shoulder, or is it more a case of here's Jake?
Yeah. So do you know what? If this was 2022, which was my second season, so I've been with Expat since 2019, obviously a little bit of a gap in the middle, I would have felt probably that, the Big Boss is there, kind of looking over the shoulder, seeing what you're doing. But from a hosting perspective, there's probably a bit less pressure on me than if I was a tour leader. But now being just had 2023, came in super confident, and I'm feeling great as a tour leader, so I feel very confident in what I'm doing with Expat. Also quite proud of it as well. So it's going to be really nice to get some downtime with Jakes, and also to be seeing a new tour leader from Morocco running our first ever tour. So kind of gaining some knowledge from what they're doing, helping them align with what Expat's doing, and having a co-founder there as well. So it's going to be really nice. We've got people from product there, people from marketing. You've got a co-founder, you've got a tour leader who's quite experienced now with Expat, all on one coach on one tour. And I think there's huge potential there for the just the collaborations that can come from that, the creative processes that can arise from that whilst on a tour with passengers who've been on so many Expat tours before. It's a really potent mix of people. So I'm very, very excited to be on that.
I agree. But, as you're talking now, Luke, I just realized how extremely rude I was because I actually didn't properly introduce you. And it does need a proper introduction. I mean, you're talking about your confidence levels being up and whatever. So, for those people watching, I kind of need to tell people how amazing it is what you've achieved since you've joined us. So you joined us in 2019 with, if I'm correct, absolutely no tour leader experience when you joined
pretty
us.
Much zero. I'd done activity leading for international students, but I'd never done any tour leading in Europe at all. I hadn't been to most of Europe. Complete novice from the very beginning, So,
And at the end of that year, you received the award for being the Newcomer of the Year in 2019, it's a great achievement. I'm assuming it felt quite good. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, especially I had terrible what we call impostor syndrome when I started. Right.
Ooh,
so on training, I was training with people with Vic had 15 years experience. You've got Brandon and Matt, Theo, Pedro, who all come from really big tour industry names coming over with all this wealth of experience, and I was just like this little newbie who I had no idea. I didn't know who Charles de Gaulle was in France. I had no idea about all these things that everyone just had this kind of innate knowledge of. I lacked completely. So there was definitely a bit of intimidation there, but I think that made me quite hungry for it as well. So.
Okay, awesome. And then just to also remind people, you in 2020, I believe, or it could have been 2021, we did our YouTube series called Behind the Bucket List. So just what that was is, I suppose we were one of the only tour operators out there that said, travel will be back. Let's just show you what's out there. And you hosted that series. I'm assuming that was fun as well.
So much fun. It was partly because I am a relentless and sometimes sickeningly eternal optimist, right? That's it's part of my nature. It's who I am. And when Expat came up with the idea behind the bucket list, it showed that they also had that deep eternal optimism about travel. So one, it was a nice kind of showing of an aligning of values there. And then when they were like, Luke, we're going to send you around Europe for 5 weeks with a cameraman who became one of my best friends in the whole world, Jamie, and just film around Europe whilst no one else is out there. Amazing opportunity, an amazing experience, learned a lot, a huge amount of development, and it was just a wonderful experience.
And then from that, we now know that travel definitely bounced back with a bang. The people are talking about revenge travel and that sort of thing. And then in 2023, you were our tour leader of the year last year in 2023, which is, it's the biggest award you can get in Expat Explore, and congratulations on that. That's massive.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, well, I wanted it all. I was like, if you've done one thing, just tick every box within the company. And I like the idea, if you're going to represent someone and work with someone, you just go all in. There's don't hold back a little bit, this, little that, just go all in. And I think if you're proud to represent an organization, it makes sense to try and achieve everything you can within that organization.
Absolutely, yes. And then this year we started with something called brand ambassadors. So a few of our tour leaders that's been with us for years and years, people like yourself, lots of knowledge. Our passengers really love you. I almost want to call you mini celebrities. Whenever you guys go out on a, we almost know, okay, it's fine. They'll be fine, and that sort of thing. We kind of don't even hear from you because you handle everything, and now you're a brand ambassador, which I think is something to be very proud of. It's Expat Explore has been around now for 20 years this year, and it's incredible to say that we now have brand ambassadors who represent us, and people like yourself out there to show everybody else how amazing it is to travel.
Yeah, 100%. It's a wonderful feeling of recognition from Expat that, we're obviously proud to represent the company, but it's a sign that they're proud to have us represent them, right? Which feels great. And I think you said, Expat's around for 20 years now. I think I've only been here since 2019, but the past couple of years, the rate of growth has been phenomenal, right? And the whole brand ambassador thing is such a clear investment in maintaining the atmosphere they create on their tours by expanding that core unit from a few people in the office to a group of us on the road. It's a really nice investment in that development for us. A great form of recognition, but a great way to ensure the quality of what Expat do stays consistent as we run more and more tours.
Exactly. And you touched on that when you spoke about, spending some time with our tour leader in Morocco, who will be somebody brand new who hasn't been with us for a while. Right. So almost like we want you to rub up against that person and say, take a little bit of me with you, when you take the next group of expat explorers out there, which is, exactly what we want.
Yeah, 100%. And we have so many tour leaders with so much experience come through. And it's just making sure that with all that experience and knowledge, it's the things are done in a way that reflect Expat Explore, right? And I've had so many passengers that have been with so many other companies, some that, have things that they excel in, but they keep coming back to Expat. And I always ask them why. I'm always in, why are you here? Like, why did you choose us? Not in a pressured way, but I'm just curious. Yeah. And it's always the atmosphere that we have on the coaches. It's the diversity we have within the groups that come on Expat tours. And it's the attention to detail of the family style hosting, the friendliness, the banter. And it's that kind of human connection that is really prioritized on an Expat tour, which I've worked for other companies and I haven't seen it to the same level of intensity anywhere else. So as brand ambassadors, trying to bring new tour leaders into that mindset of running a tour, which is great. And then when it clicks into place and that happens, the tours are phenomenal.
Amazing, isn't it? Yes, I agree. But Luke, also when we spoke about your brand ambassadorship, you were quite passionate to say, I really want to be the knowledgeable person in UK and Ireland. That's kind of where my passion lies and that sort of thing. Yeah. So I'm knowing you want to talk a little bit about, I suppose, Ireland specifically is where you really feel at home and passionate. And what is it about the destination that you love so much?
So firstly, you're going to have to come on tour with me there at some point, Ananda, to feel it, because I'll put it into words, but it's definitely an experience you need to feel. But I think when you are taking people on tour, right, there's no better feeling than when you have heritage from a place that you know intimately, whether that's the culture of food, music, but especially the folklore and history of who a people are, right? So when you are a part of that and have connected to that, to then take people on tour to that location has a layer of depth to it, which just turns it into a whole other experience. And for me, England, Ireland and Scotland, but especially Ireland, I've got deep Irish roots. I've spent a huge amount of time really connecting to the folklore, the stories of the old gods and the Brehon laws, the origins of the Celts. And these things, like a lot of people that we have come on that tour, have heritage from Ireland. So they're deeply wanting to connect to that heritage. And if you're a part of that heritage yourself, you can help them do that. Now, you don't have to be from there to deliver that experience. But for me, being a representative of that region, I can now help other tour leaders who maybe don't have that heritage themselves understand that culture and then help others connect to that when they come on tours. And so I love leading tours. Anywhere you put me in a Tesco car park, I could probably give a tour of it and have a good time.
I actually believe you.
I mean it when I say it. But the depth that you get when you give a tour of somewhere that you know so intimately is a whole other level of satisfaction. And for me, Ireland does that for me. And I think the passengers feel that as well.
Okay. And I mean, I was going to ask you, you lead tours all the time and often it's the same route over and over again. I spoke to a leader the other day that said, I know what the meal is tonight. And, I just tell it, and I can totally understand that. But my question to you is, do you ever still get a wow moment, even on the tours that you've led 10, 15, 20, 300 times? Do you still get that wow moments as a tour leader?
100% every tour. You never know when Every tour. And like sometimes you might try and orchestrate a wow moment. So there's a big reveal coming up and but actually they catch you by surprise always. So for example, my last tour, we're on our way to the Cliffs of Moher. It's a big site. Everyone's expecting to see these amazing views, but on the way there it's howling with rain. And you can barely see the road in front of you, and you're just like, God, everyone's gonna have a terrible time. And so you're on the way there. But, the luck of the Irish, the Emerald Isle always provides what it needs to provide. And we turn up, and literally the moment we turn up, the clouds, as if the hands of the gods of ancient times themselves, part in front of us, and this rainbow just forms over the view in front of us. And then it's just presented to us as this gift. And everyone is just there in disbelief. They can't believe that rain all the way there, and suddenly it's just appeared to us with this rainbow. And that's a moment that it just stops everyone in their tracks. You can't plan for it, you can't orchestrate it. But also on the end of last season, I was in a pub in New York, as all great stories on UK tours start. I was in a pub, and suddenly one of my Australian passengers, he starts shouting, and I'm like, God, what's going on? And he's shouting at a guy behind the bar, but in a happy way. And he's from Australia. He's never been to the UK before. The guy working on the bar is his old guitar teacher from Sydney. And he's just there on the bar pouring pints in the restaurant that we're having our group meal in. And these men, old friends, the guitar teacher's a bit younger, haven't seen each other in about 20 years. And they're both just shouting. So they go behind the bar. They have this big embrace. And can't believe it. Just the most serendipitous moments. And you can't plan it. You know what I mean? And every tour will have moments like that will take place. It happens also. If you're out there exploring, strange and wonderful things will happen. They do all the time.
But look, I mean, you're saying that now. I'm South African, as you know, and I haven't been on all the destinations that even the expat tours go to, which is probably a little bit embarrassing to tell you. But I was never as passionate about our Great Britain tour. I was like, this tour is very popular, and like, why? I love the sights, the Eiffel Tower, typical, South African. And I went on our Great Britain tour, and we're talking about wow moments now, and it probably will sound so super silly to somebody who wasn't there with me, but when we did that stop at Hadrian's Wall, and it's just green plains ahead of us, and I just kind of walked off a little bit, separated myself slightly from the group, sat down with my back against the wall and just stared into like silence and peace and just these cows grazing. And that moment it was really meaningful. And it's something that I'll always treasure. It's just sitting there and just imagining what happened years and years ago at that very spot, picturing that. And it was just incredible to do that. And I suppose sometimes it's so easy to miss those moments, but you just need to take a minute sometimes, I suppose.
100%. And the UK and Ireland tours generally have a lot of space for that. And regional tours generally, I think with Expat, the regional tours are laid out in a way where they create more space for people to just be able to get a feel for a country, right? Like you have our 40-country taster tours, which are very much a bit of this, that, and everything. They're quite intense and fast-paced and amazing for anyone who's not been to Europe before, who wants to get an overview. And then you come on one of our regional tours, and those moments that you just described there's so much space for those moments. But for me, I've never felt as many of those moments as I have in Ireland. And they just come thick and fast.
But Luke, also we're talking now about more in terms of the actual touring experience and that sort of thing. Many of our travelers have asked us, what is this thing about optional excursions? Why have that as a thing? So and I suppose who better than to tell people how valuable they can be, how they add value, that sort of thing, than you, who's done this for now a long, long time.
Yeah, 100%. It's a question we get asked a lot on tour as well. Sometimes passengers come and they say, why don't you just include all of these optional experiences, right? It's a valid question. But touring is a little bit unique for everyone, right? Every passenger that comes on a tour has a slightly different expectation of what's going to happen on that tour. And so some people have even been to these countries before and are with us for the kind of more community aspect. So optionals give passengers the opportunity to tailor their experience to what they want. There are some optionals which are going to appeal to everyone and that I recommend everyone should do. And the reason that the optionals add value is that occasionally there might be an optional that's very, very niche. The Titanic Museum in Belfast. One of the best experiences I've been to in Belfast, but you might get the odd person who maybe isn't interested in the Titanic and thinks, I've got to go meet a cousin in Belfast because I haven't seen them in years. So it gives them the opportunity to step outside of that and do that. But then the optionals as well, a lot of tour operators will have free time in cities and we would give recommendations. So you could go maybe do the Titanic on your own. You could go and do a day around the Ring of Kerry, using Ireland as an example, on your own. And you're still going to then pay for that experience, but you're probably going to be on your own. You're going to be with a group of strangers that you may become friends with on that day. You book with a random local tour operator. But by doing optionals through a tour operator like ourselves, for example, you're paying for the community aspect. So you're going to be with people who you've been forming bonds with for the last few days. You're going to have myself or another tour leader with you the whole time, which turns the experience rather than just into you going and having a random ticket for somewhere. It now turns it into a communal experience, which is what we're on tours for, right? And so, okay, there's the financial side of it. Often you're going to get competitive rates. You're going to get, make use of group discounts and things like that. But I think it's the doing something together as a whole that it gives you the opportunity to do that with optionals. And it gives you that freedom to tailor the experience. So if you had all of these things included initially, you might say, right, there's too much going on in that itinerary. I'm not sure if I want to go with this tour company. Whereas if you're given the freedom to say you can choose to join that experience later on, then when you get there, you can speak to someone like myself, a tour leader, who can bring that activity to life for you and really help you understand what it's about. Then you make a really well-informed decision to join that experience. And then most people do join the experiences, but they've done it freely of their own choice. And I think it's 100% worth having them on board just to give people that freedom.
Of course, yes. Of course, yeah. And then a question we often get asked, Luke, is around packing. I don't know if people overthink it. I suppose for you, packing is basically just you do it in your sleep kind of thing at this stage. But
I just never unpack. That's the key.
But what do people? What have you seen where people do it really badly and where they get it so wrong? And we mean this respectfully because people do sometimes overthink packing and generally tend to overpack. So, what are your tips for packing?
Yeah, so keep it simple. Always keep it simple. So again, exactly as you say, as a tour leader, you forget that how something so simple like packing, because you have to do it all the time, can actually be quite a daunting experience if someone doesn't do it very often, right? Because you never want to turn up somewhere thinking, I forgot that one really important thing that now I'm stressed out because I don't have it. And so you end up bringing everything with you that you have. And then you end up only using a third of your suitcase. The rest of it stays untouched for the whole tour, right? The whole trip. I've been guilty of it. Other people are guilty of it. So really is knowing your destination in advance. To bring it back to Ireland. I always bring it back to Ireland. You're going in mid... Yeah, I know, right? It's like I'm drawn to that place thing. But you're going in July, right? And you think, okay, it's summer, it's Europe, it's going to be hot. I don't need a waterproof. I don't need waterproof shoes. I don't need an umbrella. I'm just going to go in my shorts and t-shirt. That's great maybe for Italy in the summer. But you're in Ireland. It rains a lot. It rains in the summer as well. So if you understand what the weather's going to be like in the destination you're going to, you can plan accordingly. If you're going out in the evenings, do you need a shirt for every evening? Well, some evenings you're going to be tired after tour. You're just going to be relaxing at the hotel. Maybe you don't need 10 fancy shirts. But I always have a rule. I bring one nice shirt, one really nice shirt that I maybe use a few times on a tour, a few t-shirts, one rain jacket. I avoid umbrellas. Umbrellas. They're blowing about in the wind. They're poking people in the eyes. Bring a waterproof, bring a poncho you can put in your pocket. So see how you can simplify things. And, how long are you on tour for? If you're on tour for a 7-day tour, are you going to wear a new t-shirt every day? Do you need 7 t-shirts? Maybe you can bring 6 t-shirts. One day you might wear a shirt. You don't need 7 shirts, 7 t-shirts, 7 jumpers. So really do what you can to strip down the amount you're bringing, and it'll be less stressful for yourself. But also, don't bring too little. So there's a fine balance that needs to be achieved. Where you bring a good variety. But one thing I used to do, have this thing in my mind where I was like, oh, but what if I want to wear that because it looks nice? What if I feel drawn towards that jumper? We're used to being at home where we can just choose in our wardrobes. So you're really limiting yourself. So the art of letting go, I think, is very useful when packing that, okay, this is going to be the jumper I have for this tour. I don't need my 10 other jumpers that, yes, I look good in and like to wear sometimes, but maybe I don't need them on this tour. So if you can practice letting go before you come on the tour, you're gonna find it much easier. And even packing techniques. So, using packing cells in your luggage really saves a lot of space. I now use packing cells constantly. And honestly, it reduced my luggage space by a third using packing cells. And it completely changed the way I pack. So even packing technique can save you so much space and then allow you to bring the things you might not need just to give you that comfortability, the save space. Also, always save at least a fifth or so of your luggage space for shopping and souvenirs, because so many passengers come, they've packed their suitcases to the brim, they don't have space for souvenirs, and then they're stressing out about having to buy a new suitcase, having to send it home. So always anticipate leaving a bit of extra space for things that you may want to bring home.
Yeah, that's so true. For me, I always say, if you've packed underwear and your passport and probably good walking shoes, you should be fine. The rest you can always find it,
Yeah.
But
make a list of your essentials.
I think people are stressed because, they don't know how often they'll go out at night. And you don't want to be seen twice in the same outfit. But people need to remember that it's the same group and everybody's in the same boat. So seeing a person in the same outfit twice is going to happen, and it's going to be okay. It's okay.
Oh my God, everyone wears the same outfit twice, 3, sometimes 4 times. And it's funny, I always notice, right? The first 3 days of the tour, everyone's wearing something different. And they're looking around like, oh, is anyone looking and noticing? Gets halfway through the tour, suddenly, oh, you've had that T-shirt on for 3 days now. No one bats an eyelid. Everyone gets a bit more comfortable. Everyone's wearing the same things. Yeah. I mean, I wear a red T-shirt for 7 days. I have multiple red T-shirts, but sometimes passengers ask me, they're like, is that the same red T-shirt? And I'm like, no, I promise. I do have a few. But yeah, no, there's no shame wearing something twice.
You don't make them do the sniffy test on your T-shirts, because that would just be a little bit...
I don't make them. Some of them do it anyway. Like, sometimes you just turn around and there'll be a passenger there. You're just like, are you all right there, mate? What's going on? And then we just had to test.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. But talking about that, I mean, you're talking now about we're getting a little bit weird now, but weird things happen on tour, right? These curveballs that you never just anticipate. Talk us through that.
So yeah, anything can happen. I know one of our tour leaders, when I did the South Africa tour, Willem, he has a phrase, and it is always expect the unexpected. And it's true, because anything can happen. You put a group of people on a bus driving around a country for multiple days. There are so many variables that can take place, and things do get a bit weird sometimes. So I had one tour, and there were 3 things that happened on this one tour. And it was Great Britain, UK and Ireland, GBIR, best of UK and Ireland. And day 1, we had a crash. Coach crashed, not the driver's fault. Car crashed straight into the side of us. No one was hurt. Fantastic. And so it could have been very detrimental to the tour. But luckily, as we crashed just on the outskirts of Cardiff, what happened? Right next to us was an out-of-service public bus. And the lady driving the bus said, oh, you've just had a crash. I'll call the local authorities. They came and all that. And she said, I've just called my manager. Where's your hotel? We were like 20 minutes up the road. So in a normal situation, we would have been stuck on that coach for maybe a couple of hours until the police had come, done their assessments. Could we still drive, get another bus? She just took all our passengers on the public bus. She was to the hotel. The police came, driver stayed with them. He bought the luggage later and then ended up swapping the coach over. But the passengers lost about 10 minutes and they got to meet a lovely local bus driver, and it was fantastic. Later on that same tour, we thought, okay, drama 1 could have been massively damaging, but actually it turned into a bit of an adventure and it didn't harm the tour anyway. We get on your bus. We're driving through Ireland later on in the tour, and we hear this explosion. The battery on the side of the bus has exploded out the side of the bus. And no one's hurt. Everything's fine. Comes to a stop. My driver, Craig, one of the best drivers I've worked with, he's absolutely fantastic. Me and him always do the UK and Ireland together. He's a mechanic. He's never seen anything like this happen before. Complete bizarre series of events. So then anyway, the police come. Next thing you know, the police come on the coach. They're making friends with everyone. A couple of passengers on board are swapping police badges from America with the local police officer. We're there for about 40 minutes. They get a badge replacement. Absolutely fine. Tour moves on. Later on that same tour, it happens to be the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Good Friday Agreement, which ended the Troubles in 1998 in Ireland. And to commemorate this, obviously the US and the Irish have always had a very close relationship. President Joe Biden has flown to Ireland. He's on tour of Ireland just behind us. He's about 2 days behind us wherever we're going in Ireland, right? So we're calling it Biden Watch. We're watching where Biden is, watching when we're going to be, see if he's going to interfere. Anyway, we've managed to avoid Biden and his entourage and his security on this tour. We've had crashes, we've had explosions. And eventually we get to a town called Ballina where we're staying for the night. Happens to also be Joe Biden's ancestors' hometown. So he's giving a speech. So we arrive, the police stop us. Oh, please stop right there. Joe Biden's about to land. And we're like, oh, okay. He flies over us in his helicopter, lands about 100 meters from where we are in the grounds of the local cathedral and gives his speech. We're only stopped for about half an hour. We see the helicopter. And that was the third bizarre thing that happened. So we had crashes, explosions, and Joe Biden all in one tour. But at the end of the tour, everyone was buzzing. They've had so much fun. All of the weird antics that have taken place have been the stories they're going to remember. And they become the talking points of tours. So they can be, hindrances, but they become talking points and they're opportunities for us to show how we deal with them. And yeah, strange things will happen on tours.
That's amazing. Look, it's so much fun talking to you. I mean, you're just a bubble of energy and so excited about touring and travel and expat and I mean, you make us want to travel and that's a great feeling.
Right.
My question to you is, we spoke about the crystal ball before.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the future of coach travel. Where do you see coach travel going? How do you see Expat Explore playing a role in coach travel or travel in general? How do you see the future in that beautiful crystal ball of yours?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It's actually something that I do think about regularly because this is my job. It's my profession. It's my passion. So I do often ask myself, what's going to happen in 10 years? Is this still going to be a job? Is it going to be taken over by robots? Or, that's not going to happen. But obviously travel now is more accessible to people than it's ever been before, right? It's now easier to go online, book flights, book hotels, use your phone to navigate your way through a street. You can even get historical walking tours on your phone that will play in your ears as you walk around. So that could be threatening to the travel industry. However, all of the developments with solo travel that are taking place that are enabling people to travel more lacks a fundamental part of why we travel that initially isn't the obvious reason, right? And that's community and connection. And so when people do travel, especially on group tours, the thing that they always say at the end of the tour that brings them back time and time again, the thing that shines more than the lights of the Eiffel Tower, than the shining peaks of the Swiss Alps, are the people they meet on tour, and it's the connections that they make on tour, right? So in the future of travel, as travel becomes easier independently, the companies that provide the strongest level of community on their tours amongst their passengers are going to be the tour operators that people are drawn towards. Otherwise, if you're on a tour, and there are some companies out there that are very high-end, very nice hotels, but they're a little bit stale in terms of the community on the tour, where, for example, I'm encouraged to hang out with passengers after dinner, maybe have a beer with them, maybe go have coffee with them. Some tour companies do not like their tour leaders to do that and their drivers to hang out with their passengers and be social with them. Expat encourages that. And as travel progresses in the future, I do think that is going to be the defining thing that brings people back to group travel. And that's where Expat already excels and is going to continue to excel, right? And so now we live in a world where we're constantly on our computers, on our devices, and we're connected digitally, but we're disconnected socially. And group travel brings back that connection that we all crave. We need it. We're social creatures on a biological level, on a spiritual level, on every level. We need that connection. And so people are going to be finding that and hunting that out in different ways. And more people are going to flock to group travel as connection reduces in the world. And it's going to be a big promoter in how we bring back that connection. And Expat leans into that so much already. Intentionally, I think the that's something they're gonna invest more in, and you already are with the brand ambassadors and things like that. And I think that is gonna just take off and continue to deepen and intensify as travel progresses.
I 100% agree with what you just said. And I want to add that Expat almost takes it a little step further. So yes, there is that amazing connection, and we deliberately work to get that done because we believe in it. We believe that it's important for people to connect. But what makes us so unique is I always talk about Expat being the United Nations of coach travel, because we get it right somehow to attract people from all over the world. So, you're not just in a destination learning about that destination and experiencing that culture and food. You're also learning about the Filipino passenger next to you and the American person and the Canadian, and and being able to bring people together like that is very unique. And for some reason it works. And I think that's also something that people can definitely look forward to when they travel with us. It's just experiencing a little bit more of the world, even though you're in one destination. That makes 100%.
Sense. Whenever I meet other drivers and tour leaders on the road from other companies, they always ask, who's on your tour? Are you with Australians, Americans, Case? And when I tell them, we've got people from South Africa, the Philippines, America, Canada, the UK, Barbados, they're always like, oh my God, like that must be a nightmare. And it's like, actually, no, like it's very harmonious. It's great. There's not really one dominant culture that takes over. And you nailed it perfectly there. And then when you said you learn about the country you're visiting, but you're also learning about the countries of all the individuals involved. And I now, on Instagram, every now and again, I'll see a selfie of two passengers from different parts of the world that have now connected through our tour, who are visiting each other. And those new connections are made in various parts of the world. So it really breaks people in the bubble of their own. It's so nice to see. So nice. And Expat has that. And that is something that I think is very unique to Expat, is the broad range of diversity on their tours, even age-wise. I mean, on my last tour, I had a few couples in their young 20s. I had families with their teenagers. I had couples in their 60s and 70s. Such a huge, broad mix of ages as well, which on day one, everyone's like, oh my God, this is so strange. There's people from all sorts of ages and backgrounds here, but it's wonderful. Oh man, the atmosphere that creates is fantastic.
It's
good.
I
agree. Good thing going on.
Luke, we should probably start thinking about wrapping things up, but you've mentioned Instagram now, and I was reminded by your other passion, which is, videography and putting your travels and your life kind of out there for people to see and stuff. What tips do you have for people who want to kind of start dipping their toes into making reels for social media and that sort of thing?
Mm-hmm. So really good question. And now it's something that I had a passenger on my last tour who was 75 and she was making Instagram videos.
No way.
So really not to say that age is a factor, but really all people now are getting on the social media. And so people want to share their journeys. They want to document their journeys. They want to be able to look back and see photos and videos. And now apps are making it easier and easier to do this. So a few things I always tell my passengers that I can tell are curious about this is, firstly, do not be intimidated by all the influencers and the perceived perfection of the influencers that are out there, because what people really want and people are really drawn to is authenticity, right? So if you're going to make videos and photos, don't beat yourself up about everything having to be perfect. Just put your personality into it, let yourself shine through, and people will enjoy it, right? But also on a practical level, one of our pet hates on tour is when we ask a member of the public to take a photo for us, and they chop people's heads off. They get the sight out of it on the background. So just look at things like framing. Even, there are free courses on YouTube. You can go on how to take a good picture with a mobile phone. So you can get a bit of framing to really bring your pictures to life, to take a good quality photo. So I would familiarize yourself with some of that, and then just keep content going. So, one of the great things about people that are getting into this now is it allows them to get a bit creative with the experiences they have. So recently, for example, Cliffs and Moher, someone did a great video where they were doing all these reveal shots. They started the video behind the wall and they would move it up to reveal the site in front of them. And, we always have our photo contests at Pisa in Europe, right? Leaning Tower of Pisa, who can get creative with doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things with the Leaning Tower of Pisa, from banana skins to ice cream cones to stealing in a bag. And people that are engaging in this are becoming more creative in how they interact with locations through their lenses and their cameras. So I think play with it. Play is really important. Don't take it too seriously. Have fun with it. Keep it playful, and you'll create some great content. And ultimately, you're going to inspire other people to travel, right? It encourages you to travel to get content. It then inspires other people to travel through the content they see. So just enjoy it. Learn how to frame a good photo, and then just put it out there. And don't be afraid if you're on tour. Ask your tour leaders to help you. Ask us to help you get videos. Ask one of your fellow passengers to take that video of you talking to the camera. And maybe you'll love it so much you want to become a tour leader and come and work with us as well. Who knows? But yeah, don't take it too seriously. Have fun.
That's actually what I want to wrap with, because you've mentioned that, maybe you want to become a tour leader. I mean, you kind of took the leap. You did it with no experience. And I'm sure there's people out there that look at people like you and say, you know what, this looks like a very cool job, and I think I have what it takes. What advice do you have for people who would want to, look into that aspect of life?
Yeah, it's big. It's a big thing to do. But firstly, just do it. Just get involved. And there are so many aspects to being a tour leader that need to click into place. But ultimately, if you are a public speaker and you enjoy even if you're not good at public speaking, if you like the idea of public speaking and you have a passion for people, get involved. You can learn the history as you go. You can learn the information about cultures as you go. But ultimately, you develop being around people and enjoy being around people. You have to enjoy it. I say to everyone, the moment you stop enjoying being a tour leader, you should quit. And it's a bold statement. If I stopped enjoying it, I would quit. And I owe that to my passengers, to people that come on tour. And so even if you think there's a tiny, tiny part of you that could enjoy this lifestyle, of course, people see it. They're like, oh, you get to travel around the world. You work seasonally. Those are very appealing things, right? And they are a real part of what we do. But ultimately, you have to enjoy the idea of being surrounded by up to 50 people all day who want your attention and your bandwidth given to them. Mm-hmm. And if you think that that's something you might enjoy, find a way to try that out. You can volunteer and do a walking tour of your local city. You can go and do a summer camp teaching with English language learners, being an activity leader. That's what I did initially, to try it out. So there are ways to try it out without jumping in feet first into being a tour leader. And you should do that as well. So find a way to try out being around large groups of people and how your personality matches with that, because personality is such a big part of it. You don't have to be this massively extroverted, performing, theatrical person to be a good tour leader, but you do have to have a good level of communication and enjoy being around large groups of people for prolonged periods of time. So if you like the idea of traveling and being a tour leader, try that out first any way you can. And then if that resonates with you, come and get involved. Please. It's like the more people that are involved, the better.
And it takes time, I suppose. I mean, you said you had imposter syndrome in 2019. You felt a little bit like the guy that didn't know everything, and it's normal. It's normal to not know everything. It's normal to build up that experience and that sort of thing. So I'm glad you're encouraging people to do this. I don't think it's an easy job. I think sometimes people look at it and think, oh, it must be nice. But people sometimes forget that it's also a very demanding job and that sort of thing. Yeah. But it's also extremely rewarding, I believe.
Oh, so rewarding. It's like from start to finish, you get a group of people who are a bit nervous, a bit tentative. They've never been to a place before. They're all looking at you expectantly, like deers in headlights, like, we've just spent all this money on this tour. Are you going to be able to give us an experience that's valuable to us? And then as the days go on, you connect them with the places that you're seeing. You give them a bit of information. You make them laugh. You make them think about things. And at the end, you've created this massively deep experience for them that can be life-changing for some. It's not an exaggeration. It really can have big impacts on people's lives. And the satisfaction of that is phenomenal. So I'd recommend that everyone try it out once in one shape or form. If you don't like it, no worries. But I think people might surprise themselves at how much they enjoy it. But always with anything, relax and have fun, because this job can be intensely stressful and people get so bogged down in the stress of remembering the date that event happened. The other things go out the window. Have fun, relax, and as long as you're well organized behind the scenes, you'll have a great time.
That's the thing. Look, I've had so much fun talking to you. I can keep going for a very long time, but we probably have to bring things to a close. I think final thoughts. We're talking about the season that started. We have some passengers who's probably, already got their little packs out and their clothes lying on their beds, ready to put it in that suitcase. What do you want to say to those people who's kind of just, 2 weeks away from hitting Europe, joining maybe you or someone else on tour? What is the message to these guys?
So firstly, congratulations. You made a great choice coming on tour with us. But also, the world right now is alive with a buzz of travel and excitement, and you are about to step into that buzz. And you're going to have a fantastic experience, but remain open to all the experiences that can happen. Try new things. And I always like to tell my passengers on day one, everywhere you go, you will be holding up a mirror. So how you choose to interact with the world is how the world will choose to interact with you. So stay open, stay happy, stay positive, and engage in a way that you want the world to engage with you, because you have a wonderful gift to give the world, which is yourself, and the world has wonderful gifts to give to you. And the only way you can experience that is to travel. The best way to do it is with like-minded people, and you're about to do that. So congratulations.
Well done, Luke. Thank you. That's a very strong message, and I want to echo what you said. I think that's absolutely spot on. You have the mirror held up, and that's how you should, engage with this whole experience. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for your time. You are 2 days away from a flight to Morocco. Please send your photos, your videos, whatever you can share with us. Go ahead. We're really looking forward to hearing from you out on the road there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, I'm going to send it with videos, photos, I'm going to spam the world with our wonderful Moroccan discovery tour.
Looking forward to it. Have fun, Luke. Thanks for your time.
All right. A pleasure. Thank you, Ananda. Take care.